Members and friends, family, let us say a big hallelujah. 50 years of existence, and in this 50th year, God has given us a powerful leader. A young man who, when he took the helm of this party, he stated and he promised that he will bring this party into government. And today, the People's Action Movement is a big part or the major part of the Team Unity government in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. What a powerful man. And this afternoon, I want to present to you our leader, the Honorable Shawn K Richards. Put your hands together for him, please.
This afternoon, I promise to be brief. In the first instance, my usually soft voice is even more soft. It is softer because I have a sore throat that I'm recovering from. Secondly, I am a man of my promises. In 2004, leading up to the general election, I said to you that at the next convention of the People's Action Movement, I will be introduced as the Honorable Shawn Richards. I kept that promise. Last convention, and when I was elected as leader of the People's Action Movement, I promise you that whenever the failure, the misfit that we had in charge of this country gets the balls and the galls to call the general election, the People's Action Movement would be back in government in this country. While on the campaign trail, and now as the minister with responsibility for education, I have promised the people of Bastia in particular that the affairs of the Bastia High School would be looked after and you would get a brand new high school. And I said to you this afternoon that plans are in motion to ensure that the affairs of the Bastia High School will be looked after under a government of Team Unity and with Shawn Richards as your Minister of Education. I said to you at caucus last week Sunday that I intend to finish by 4:30, but the speakers before me, they did not allow me to keep that promise. I looked at a particular speaker this morning and I said, we intend to finish by 4:30. And next speaker looked at me and said, you're speaking to me? I said, no, I'm speaking to the other one because I know he cannot be short. And indeed, well, he's tall in person and he cannot be short. The two of them spoke already that tall. So it's left for you to figure out which one I'm referring to. The first thing I want to look at is the legacy of the People's Action Movement. Members and friends, the convention of the People's Action Movement is of the utmost importance to us as a party. We are 50 years old this year. Not 10, not 20, not 30, not 40, but half of a century. We are 50 years old this year. We are 50 and still going strong. You know, as we would say locally, what a thing. What a thing. We are 50 and we are still going strong. There are those who said that Pam is dead. There are those who said that Pam will never be back in government in this country. Today, we are here to prove that is a lie. Today, we are stronger than ever. Today, we are back in government in this country. And so this year, on the anniversary of the birth of the party, on celebrating what is a major milestone in life, we have taken back the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. Give yourselves a round of applause because you have done it. Our party is a proud and key partner with our 4 elected representatives of the government of national unity. And I want our 4 elected representatives to stand because they worked hard. The Honorable Lindsay Fitzpatrick Grant. Give him a round of applause. Lindsay has persevered in constituency number 4, and today he is in government representing the people of constituency number 4. I want to call on the man who said, "You know me and I know you," Ian Patches Libard. Patches is a giant of a man. He defeated a man who was there since 1993. And after one chance at it, Patches said, "It is time for you to go." And indeed, he has gone. And you, the people of East Bastille, you must be proud because you now have a representative working on your behalf. He has been fired from constituency number 8, a man who has also persevered. The senior amongst us from the point of view that of all of the present candidates, he was a candidate before all of us, but he never gave up. He had a dream. He had hope for the people of constituency number 8. In 2004, he came to you. Prior to that, he came to you in 2000. In 2010, he came to you a 3rd time. Wisdom prevailed. He stood up in Parliament and he represented you on every single occasion. A man who is not only the Minister of Agriculture, Lands, Housing, Human Settlement, Health, Gender Affairs, Community Affairs, Insurance. He has the longest ministry, so if I forget any, please forgive me. He is also the leader of government business in Parliament. Some persons asked me about it. I said, who is more fitting to be the leader of government business in Parliament? Eugene Hamilton knows the rules of Parliament like no other member of Parliament. As a matter of fact, Eugene is probably the only person to ever get thrown out of Parliament at the last sitting of the Parliament and return to the Parliament as the leader of government business in Parliament, Eugene Hamilton. I want to recognize also a young man who came to you, a young man who is the same age that I was when I entered Parliament for the first time. A young man who said to the people of Central Bastille that better days are coming. Better days are coming. And better days have come for the people of Central Bastille. John L. Powell. John L. lost by a very slim margin. But John L. has vowed that whenever the next election is called, he will be the representative for Central Bastion, and I give you the assurance that he has our full support. Finally, let me recognize a man who has risen from being one of my candidates to now being my advisor, specifically in the Department of Youth. A young man who I can say was my classmate from first until fifth form. A young man who has already continued to do the work in constituency number 6, because that young man, he has a goal, and his goal is to become the first PAM representative in constituency number 6, Vernon Connor. I thank all of them. I say to you that we have been and will always be proud of our role over the last 50 years in this country. But I also say to you that we are also looking at a new day. We are looking at a different time with tremendous possibilities for our party, for the country which we love so dearly. And so we have crafted a theme for this convention, celebrating our legacy while defining our future. And so we look back, we reflect, and we remember. We recognize where we have come from as a party. And we hail those who have been instrumental in bringing us to this time, to this place in history. Keynote speaker Kenrick did an excellent job in reminding us of so many and so much of whom and what have gone before. And like him, I must single out and recognize His Excellency Dr. William Billy Herbert, the founder and first leader of the People's Action Movement, gone but never to be forgotten. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had our years of struggle, the good times and years of enlightenment, the 1960s and the 1970s, the 1980s, the unparalleled golden era of life in St. Kitts and Nevis, the difficult times and years of hardship, those towering leaders who took us through the good and the bad. Please give each and every one of them a resounding round of applause. Our legacy is a legacy that we can all be proud of. It is a legacy that embodies a strong sense of purpose. It is a legacy which is defined by a transformational vision of service to none other than country. The definition of legacy is anything handed down from the past. Something handed down or received from an ancestor or predecessor. Something passed down to you. Well, much has been passed down from the past leaders and countless unnamed committed people, because I have only named a few of the persons who have made a commitment to this political party and to this country. There are many other persons out there who are yet to be named, but we must recognize those persons And we must thank those persons because they have been part of the legacy of this party, the legacy of this country. We have inherited this, and we have a mission to give not to ourselves, but to the next generation as St. Kitts and Nevis better than what we received. Our legacy stretches 6 decades, from our first election campaign in 1966. The victimization meted out when civil liberties were suspended, and our people, young people like Michael Morton, who is here with us today, were arrested and incarcerated for months during the state of emergency in 1967, only to have all trumped-up charges dropped before the courts. We recall the firing of senior public servants, 22 of them. And that is why when Kenrick just spoke about victimization, we know it is true. And there are others here who can speak to it. But we go back to when some 22 public servants were fired, not to mention countless other junior civil servants following the general elections of 1971. We recall the Christina disaster, and after that, the soldiers armed with machine guns on the inter-island ferry with Nevis, a 1 square mile state of emergency at West Farm, and Dr. Simmons's arrest for standing on his own lands. Then the 1979 by-elections and no parliament for most of the year to keep Dr. Simmons, the duly elected member for Central Bastille, out of parliament. But we also remember what our country, what our society has gone through since 1980, just 30 years ago, under the leadership of the Right Honorable Sir Dr. Kennedy Alphonse Simmons. We recall that our great party under Dr. Simmons threw off the final shackles of colonial bondage. We declared our independence and declared with one voice that our people were to be free from the colonial oppressors who had shackled and chained our people for countless generations. That historic moment, my brothers and sisters, that moment of independence was a joyous daybreak at the end of a long and painful night in the hands of our masters in Whitehall, the seat of colonial government in Britain. During the 1980s and the first half of the 1990s, our party, in collision with the NRP in Nevis, oversaw a remarkable transformation of our country. To remind some of us, in 1980, just over 30% of the population of St. Kitts had running water in their homes. And it's a pity that up until now, you still have persons in St. Kitts without running water because of the increase in water under a former administration. But we are working to correct that. And as I said that, I want you to give a next round of applause to Ian Patches Libod, who for the very first time ensured that an elderly person in his constituency received running water. Congratulations to Patches. And that is a government and representation working for you. And so just as back in the 1980s, when only 30% of the people in Nevis had running water, we are ensuring that people today have running water. just over 30% of our homes had electricity. In Nevis, it was non-existent in most parts of the island. People use charcoal to cook. People use kerosene oil stoves. Roughly 30% of the population use propane gas. And telephones, well, it was as though we were back in the dark ages. And maybe part of that was good, you know, because the amount of phones are here going off here this afternoon. In 10 short years, those figures translated into more than 80% in electricity, water, and cooking facilities. People could now have toilets in their homes, something that was unheard of for the vast majority of persons. And so I asked Dr. Simmons, I asked Michael Powell, I asked Richard Keynes, and I asked you, Heilig and Constance Mitchum, to stand and take a bow for leading our country forward during those dark ages. Ms. Mitchum, I want you to remain standing because socially, women's rights, family rights were enshrined in new and far-reaching legislation. 12 weeks maternity leave, taken for granted by so many women today. Status of children born out of wedlock now recognized. And economically, the foundation for modern society was laid. Thank you, Ms. Mitchum. Infrastructural development, second to none, was a hallmark of the administration. A first-rate telecommunication system with the creation of Scantel. And many of us in here boast of the fact that we have shares in Scantel, now Lime. That was a joint venture between cable and wireless and the PAM government with some fiber optic cables laid throughout the country. Cable television was introduced long before other CARICOM countries. A modern infrastructure. Port Zante Cruise Port. New schools, the first of which was built in none other than constituency number 6. The college CFBC, the courthouse, roads, a sustainable development that St. Kitts and Nevis being ranked as #1 in economic growth in Latin America and the Caribbean. People had jobs, and people had what comes with jobs? Money. What comes with jobs? Money. And you all had money in your pocket? Yes. You all have money now? No. But on the team Unity, you're getting it back. Yes. You are getting it back. And I am going to speak to that a little later. I'm in time still, don't worry. This was, Lindsay, you're in time still. This was and is the legacy of the People's Action Movement, the legacy that we celebrate after 50 years. But unfortunately, then came the Denzel Douglas-led administration. This administration waged war on PAM. It waged war on our people and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Bitterness, tribalism, brother against sister, one against another, that became the order of the day. And disaster for our country. A breakdown of law and order. abuse of the Constitution and good governance, victimization, corruption in high office, huge national debt, land for debt. You can name it because you have lived it and you know it. We have waged a major election campaign over the past 2.5 years. It was a long campaign. Sometimes I personally wondered if I could have survived a next month of the campaign. We had bets amongst ourselves. Some persons said the election June, and June would come, no election. Somebody else would say to you, I got it from farm ground. Election in October, you instead of doing this and they're doing that. And October came, no election. A year passed, no motion of no confidence. And you say, Lord, man, he can't continue like this. The man has to have some little piece of a conscience. And so 1 year passed, and next 3 months passed, 6 months passed, no general election. And you're out there on the campaign trail, you're in opposition, financially the campaign taking a toll from you, and sometimes you wonder how you're going to get your bills paid the next month. But through your support and the grace of God, we have survived and we have been triumphant. Today, we are now in government. Family, family, we joined with partners who had not always seen eye to eye with us, but who, like us, were prepared to put aside our differences for the betterment of our country, for the betterment of all of our people, PAM, CCM, Labour, NRP, for our family. And today, we can smile. Today, we can smile because today we are here with our tremendous legacy. Well, the question now becomes, what are we going to pass down? What will be our legacy? And so I look to the future. The future is ahead of us. And we define our future. We in the People's Action Movement understand that this is a transformational moment when the people are calling for a new politics and need transformational leaders. And I want to repeat that. We in the People's Action Movement understand that this is a transformational moment when the people are calling for a new politics and need transformational leaders. I repeated it because I don't think that some of us have grasped and have understood exactly that. Some of us are still calling for and looking for the politics of the past. Some of us are still looking for the politics of 1995 when Kenrick Clifton, a qualified civil servant, was fired for no other reason than the fact that he's a Sandy Point and a supporter of the People's Action Movement. Some of us are still looking for that. Some of us are still saying that only our supporters must eat and live in this country. That cannot continue. Nothing about that is transformational. Nothing about that is a new type of politics. We recognize that we have supporters, and supporters have campaigned for us. Supporters have helped us to get into government. But what we want to do is to build a better country for all of us. That is the platform that we campaigned on. We said a fair share for all. A fair share for the young people. A fair share for the middle age. A fair share for our senior citizens. A fair share for QT. A fair share for all of us. And I need for as many of us to recognize that and to accept that. We do not intend to leave anyone behind. And we understand politics. We did not get into government because we do not understand politics. We understand politics. But this government is just about 4 months old. And too many persons expect everything to change immediately and to change overnight. Some of us feel that because the government has changed, all of us must begin to work for the government. Well, I don't know how the government will afford to employ all of us. If it is that we are looking to go back to the days of high indebtedness, then the government can employ all of us, and all of us eventually suffer in this country. It is not about that. It is about our future. And what is the future? What does the future hold for you? I said to you that it is the time to end bickering. It is the time to end polarization. It is also the time to end party tribalism. It is time for us to be an example of what working together can do. The stakes at the last general election were very high. The future of our country was at stake. We could not take more of the same. We needed change. Many had questions. What does this mean for the People's Action Movement? What does this mean for our legacy? What does this mean for our 50 years? Does this mean that the People's Action Movement is no longer? Well, today's convention is proof that the People's Action Movement is still here as a party in unity, as a party in government. And I want you to recognize that. When we got into government in 1980, it was part of a coalition working with a party in Nevis. Today, we are working with a different party in Nevis. If it says nothing to you, it says to you that the People's Action Movement is willing to embrace all parties. Today, we are working with a Prime Minister who came out of the bowels of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. That says to you that PAM is an all-inclusive and all-embracing party. That is part of your legacy. It is part of your future, and you must be proud of it. It cannot be about PAM and PAM supporters only. Otherwise, in the future, no one will be willing to work with PAM and embrace the People's Action Movement. There's no other party in this country which can make that boast. Only PAM, only we can make that boast of working with just about every single political party in this country. We want to give this federation the next generation and your politics. A politics where different political parties work together. A politics where we put people first. And your politics where we can look back and say that unity has worked and has worked well. We want to show them that you can reject the colonial heritage of tribalism. We want to show them that you can have a society where all have a fair share. We want to show them that jobs can be plentiful again. Most of the persons coming into my office today, they are coming to look employment, and I am sure the other ministers will say the very same thing to you. We don't want 3,000 persons on a PEP program. We don't want persons out there cannot find jobs, and so anytime you need a job, you have to go and look for a minister of government. You must be able to go to the private sector and choose a job there. You must be able, if you're working for government and you reach the age of 55, you don't have to send a letter and say to the minister, to the permanent secretary, that you're seeking an extension because you have a child in university, because you have a mortgage to pay, and you cannot afford to pay, and so you want an extension for the next 7 years. You should be able to know, after a long and illustrious career in government, you can go out in the private sector, seek employment, or go out and form your own business. That is the country that we want to build. We in the People's Action Movement, we have committed ourselves to work with our partners to bring hope and goodwill to our nation, to all of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, under the banner of unity, under the government of national unity. It is a commitment in which we dedicate ourselves to work with members of the other political parties or groups in our federation, the CCM, PLP, Labour, or Independents. People of goodwill, people who love their country, and people who put, as our motto says, country above self. People who, like us, are committed to offer the citizens of our country a new direction in which we strive to end the divisiveness that has plagued us for so long, which pits brother against sister and neighbor against neighbor, in which there will be opportunities for all to get a job, for all to own a piece of land, and to prosper in the land of their birth. It is a new direction in which we will offer relief to our people, to uplift and to make life easier for all of those who are having such a hard time to get through each day, each week, each month. This is our pledge. We believe in and we commit ourselves to uphold the Constitution, the rule of law, and the administration of justice. In keeping with our long-standing ideals and values, we in the People's Action Movement commit ourselves to working in unity to bring relief to our people by creating jobs and opportunities for all of our people. Team Unity has made a lot of promises. We have made 193 promises in our manifesto. And in the throne speech, you heard them again. The next 5 years, we have a lot to accomplish. A lot to accomplish. But we can and we will accomplish it because we have dedicated people. And we have you, our supporters, because those 193 promises were not made on behalf of Shawn. They were not made on behalf of Lindsay, Vance, Timothy, Patches, Eugene, Wendy, or any of the others. They were made on behalf of you, the people. And you must keep us in check. You must get a scorecard. And you're going to need a long scorecard there, you know. But get a scorecard. And fast as one promise is kept, you take it off. You say, promise made. And promise what? Yes. Promise made? Promise made. And so when we speak about that, if you ain't on your scorecard as yet, put it on your scorecard and you put next to it. Promise made. Promise made. Sugar workers, you are here? Yes. Promise made. Promise. And some of them outside putting up their hands. Promise made, promise kept. Cutie says she current bill gone down. Promise made, Cutie. I can't hear you, Cutie. Promise made. Cutie, it's either promise kept, or if you really understand the point as much as you say you are, it is hub. All right? Good. The Honorable Premier is here, and there is none better than him. When I say the next one, I want him to stand and say, promise kept. And the people listening, you know, $10 million to the people of Nevis. Promise kept. And I know you all feeling it, you know. Because these days when I go in the supermarket, I see more smiling faces in the supermarket than ever before. Sometimes I go in there, and when I expect the bill, forgive me for saying this, but I'm a one man, I live by myself. So if I go in with $100, John will say it too, so John will know what I'm talking about. Liz, you can't put up your hand. Patches, what about you? All right. But when I go in the supermarket sometimes, when I expect the bill to be $150 and the cashier tell me $120, I begin to watch the things again and wonder if the cashier made a mistake. And then reality hits me. That has been removed from food. I said to you at caucus that I went to a funeral, and as I was leaving the cemetery, a gentleman came up to me and he said to me that the girlfriend of the deceased wants to have a word with me. I well want to run to the cemetery now. Because most of the times when people are dead and they come look for you as a politician, the bill ain't pay yet. You're highly shaking the head, he used to get it. That's how he used to deliver the most tanks of gas in Sandy Point. So you know what I'm speaking about. But when somebody has a dead, and I don't hear Gene talk about it all the time. They don't call Gene often, he like an undertaker. He always paid to bury people. And so, I'm like, oh Lord, here it comes. And the lady came up to me and she gave me a very pleasant surprise. She said, on behalf of myself, on behalf of my family, I want to thank you. I want to thank Team Unity, because the undertaker said to me that I have been able to save over $3,000 because of the removal of that from funeral expenses. It is cases like those which makes me feel proud to be part of this government. Knowing that you have been able to touch the life of persons and knowing you have been able to make a difference. That is what we are in government to do, to make life better for all of the people. I can say to you, the lady who spoke to me, she is from Newton Ground. I don't know which political party she supported, but we know traditionally our support in constituency number 6 has been very small. I don't know which political party she supports, but at least she came and she said thanks, because that policy made a difference in her life. It is persons like her who Vernon can go to next election and campaign to, and she would be willing to listen because she has been touched by this government. And that is the only way we are going to get change in that constituency. It is the only way we are going to get more and more persons to support this government. So when this government is embracing other persons, you must be mindful that one, we set a fair share for all, but two, we can only grow our support if we look after all of the people, not some of the people. I'm almost at the end. Family, we have made a fresh start and everyone will get their fair share. We in the People's Action Movement will give our full support to Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris and other leaders in the government of national unity in leading us. And I want you to all stand and smile. Come, stand and smile. We have a lot to be thankful for and to smile about. And I want you to smile. You know why I want you to smile? Because these are happy times. These are exciting times. This is a new era in government here in St. Kitts and Nevis. A new era of governance. A new day is upon us. You can sit. We are PAM. We are the People's Action Movement. We are PAM in unity. And we express with our wider family unity our shared values of good governance and our commitment to bring relief and a better way of life for all of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis through a prosperity agenda. We celebrate our legacy. We define our future. May God bless the People's Action Movement and may God bless St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you.